Good afternoon. Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. I'm Greg Lassiter. We're having a great show for you today. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
So I'd like to bring up our last speaker, who's a leader on the Close Rikers campaign, as well as within her own community. She serves as Director of Community Integration at Ingersoll Community Center and is an active member of Community Board Number 2 and the Downtown Brooklyn Task Force. Samantha Johnson exemplifies the power of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, Samantha Johnson.
Good morning, family! Good morning, family! Good morning. My name is Samantha Johnson, and I'm a proud member of the Close Rikers campaign. I want to express thanks to Judge Littman and the Littman Commission, and everyone was a part of that. And also, Mark Barbarito for standing strong and true to her actual word and creating that commission. Yep. I want to say thank you to everyone who came to a meeting and action. You shared the hashtag. You didn't know what you were talking about, but you still talked about it. Nice. And you still stood strong. Nice. No thanks cannot be extended enough to this man right here, Glen Martin. Indeed, more than just a person to talk about it, but he did something about it. We did it, y'all. We did it. Yeah. We're doing it now. And let us not lose sight of who we're doing this for. We do this every day for formerly incarcerated and currently incarcerated people. Those 79% who are waiting for a trial. We're doing this for our children so they will never have to deal with the experience of what hell that Rikers is. We took this victory as a moment to victimize over, but we are not done. We gotta celebrate together. We're gonna cry together. And this fight will be written in our history books. This fight right now is our history. 1 year ago, we were a team with a dream, and now we are officially a movement. That's right. They said it couldn't be done. They doubted us. We knew how important this was, and we stayed strong. We built leaders to tell the stories inside and out, because we know that this is bigger than Rikers. We know that this victory will impact the world. Yes. With your support, we will change the way that criminal justice system is viewed today. Yes. We're going to rethink and reshape incarceration. We know that there's a better way. There's gotta be a better way. Instead of criminalizing people and just locking them up, we must use our funds to uplift our communities and to heal the hurt that Rikers has done to us. We must bring healing to our families. For over 80 years, we have to bring healing back. And we have to use those funds for a new system, along with affordable housing, homelessness, education, mental health, healthcare for all, and adequate paying jobs. That's right. We don't have time to waste. We need Rikers closed when? Now! We need Rikers closed when? Now! We need to heal our communities now. Mayor de Blasio, you made a commitment, and we're going to hold you and every other elected official accountable. Please do not pacify us with just for an election season. We don't have time for that, because we're very clear that this is a human rights issue. You should be knowing that as well. We know far too much about cheap talk, and we are here not for campaign speeches. We are here for justice. Yes. So friends and family, let us today stand and rejoice. But tomorrow, we got to get back to work. And every second that we waste is failing our future and our communities. We will not back down. We will continue to tell our stories and say their names. We will continue to advocate, to lead, and to fight. This is only the beginning. We will continue to stand until Rikers is closed. Not in 10 years, but when? Now! Thank you.
Through the effort to close Rikers, New York City has a chance to not just shutter its torture island, but to re-envision criminal justice. To have a criminal justice system that is smaller, more fair, more humane, that allows people to maintain their human dignity no matter what they are charged with. We have a chance for our mayor to stand up and be that national progressive leader that he defines himself as a leader that doesn't take 3.5 years to figure out that you can't have a torture island in your backyard. As a leader who doesn't put $500 million in his budget to build another jail on that torture island. As a leader who understands that his power comes from the people and not the pillars in this building. Human lives remain at the center of this process. This campaign will always be centered on human lives and on community voices. It's time for New York to close this jail as soon as possible. Not in 10 years, now. Not in 10 years, now. Not in 10 years, now. It's time for New York City to end its broken windows policing. It's time for us to reform speedy trial. It's time for us to have a more fair bail system. It's time to end the criminalization of black and brown communities in one of the most resource-rich, progressive cities in the United States. If any city in the United States can figure out how to close a torture island 200 feet away from one of the busiest airports in this country, it should be New York City, and it should be at the leadership of a mayor who holds himself out as a national progressive leader. Show me the money. National progressive leader, show me the money. Not 10 years, now! I'd like to end by bringing up Messiah, who's going to be joined by Malcolm again. I'd like to let you know, let the mayor know, that this movement is just going to continue to grow. When I saw him at the inauguration and he said, I don't understand why you're asking me to close Rikers, I said, I am going to help you understand. We are going to help you understand. There's not going to be enough space on the steps of this building. I'd like to bring up Messiah and Malcolm to take us out. Thank you.
Peace. I want to conclude in the form of spoken word poetry. I've spent the last 10 years working with youth incarcerated, the last 5 at Rikers Island with Friends of Island Academy, and a lot of what's being said today just hit really close to home, seeing it hands-on from the inside out. And I want to share this piece that was inspired by those experiences, entitled Order of Removal. Brothers get caught up. Brothers get caught up for the cheese like a trapped mouse. At 15, he saw his first trap house. At 16, he pulled his first strap out. No home, he found shelter in juvie prisons, DC jails, Rikers Islands, new beginnings, Nubians who never knew what royalty felt like. Never wore his belt tight, so besides his pants, his gun was all he held tight. Life on hold, strong soul who became weak for his wants. I see him once a week, he been sitting for months. I go in to do my poetry workshop. The potency his words got can't be confined by all the police the world got. He told me he worked out, his pop's a boxer, pictures of Pacquiao on his wall. Just like him, he's powerful but small. How is a social worker supposed to nurture a child's dead spirit, early murder, court order, life a living abortion, born from holy water like the river of Jordan, now a cash cow to a prison who won't give him a portion. I tell him, hold your head. Without the army, he's a soldier. At times his arms get too heavy for his shoulder. The burden his mom's carried like a boulder. Every day he's getting older. Just had a birthday. Group programs, he got an A on the survey. Never been dumb, though his literacy level is below sea level. Caught up in the beast, the D-level. Eyes on fire beneath the tea kettle. Now he's 18. Release date dreams. It's about time. Thought he was free till the gatekeepers gave him adult time. When will the bulb shine in this dark hour? In his bloodline is star power. No BET, a smart scholar with no GED. Intellects, young Malcolm X in the feds like FedEx mail. They shipped him to federal jail off to Michigan. Family can't afford to visit him. Recidivism in the prison system is the heartbeat of Wall Street. Private jails create profit sales. Every time we hear the bells on the clock, black males are the stock like slaves on the dock. Now check this. Prison complexes in Texas decrease because of less entries, more exits. The state lost money, so what's next is go after the Mexicans, immigrants all together. Arrest the guilty and innocent all together. More cellmates to fill more bed space. If not, they lose money. More dead weight is called capitalism. That's why we face capital punishment 40 years after in prison. Verizon stocks rising from collect calls, leeching the life behind these dead walls. In this game of debts and debtors, some met some mentors, men torn from the thorns of crooked judges, nickels a day for cooking lunches, hundreds of push-ups, hooks and punches, abundance of prayers and books from pundits, keep his mind clear, refuel, seeking renewal. In cuffs, he's a jewel in the rough. From the streets where life beyond 18 is iffy. More black men in jail than slaves in 1850. Now seriously, look in the mirror, see, and tell me that's not a conspiracy. Shut it down now.
Time to fight back! It's time to fight back! It's time to fight back! Time to fight back! It's time to fight back! It's time to fight back! It's time to fight back! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Greg Lasseter, here with no other than the great Nat Wood.
Adjust your television set. You are fortunate enough to have tuned in to 30 frames a second.
You have spun that into the fact where the victim is now the perpetrator and the perpetrator is now the victim. And that just drives me crazy.
And here at 30 Frames, we're stepping up our game. We're going out on location, and we're going to deal with all subjects. Today, we're going to talk about the things that are happening in New York, such as the closing of Rikers Island. Now, with that said, the creator of this fabulous show called 30 Frames a Second is Nat Wood. Hey, Nat, what's going on?
What's up, brother?
But moreover, before you even answer, this
good,
year,
'cause I'm not in the camera.
I've been doing this show for the last 5 years, and I'm very thankful that Nat chose me to host the show with him. We've been nominated this year at an award ceremony at the People's
Film Festival.
Yeah, it's the People's Film Festival, but the
You
actual
do know
award.
where it is, right?
Yeah, I just told him.
Okay.
The People's
Good.
Award, People's Media Award for Excellence. So that we're nominated for the most informative talk show. Hopefully, we'll win. Keep your fingers crossed. Nat, welcome to your show.
Thank you, brother.
Nat.
It's unfortunate that you told him we were nominated for excellence when I just screwed up.
But I kept it going though.
Yeah.
I kept it going though. So, but Nat, let me tell you, guys. You know, Rikers Island. If you guys don't know, those who don't live in New York City, Rikers Island is the city, one of the city jails.
It's a whole bunch of jails.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of jails here, but
stuck together.
but yeah, Rikers Island is one of the most notorious torture chambers in the country.
That's what Glen Martin referred to it as, Torture Island, and that's very.
And that's what it's very of what it is. Now, Rikers Island, to my understanding, if you get arrested in Rikers Island, I don't know how you get over to Rikers opposed to the downtown jail or something like that. Well, anyway, if you have a trial, haven't been to trial, eventually you would end up at Rikers Island before the trial. And as it stands in New York, they have up until 2 years to keep you in Rikers Island?
Well, Khalif Browder was in there for 3 years.
For 3 years for a crime that he wasn't even charged with.
No, he wasn't
charged, nor convicted. Nor
well,
convicted.
It's hard to convict somebody if you
haven't been charged.
Charge them.
But he ended up.
And there was no evidence or anything.
Right.
It was just one guy who said, "I think that's the Negro that."
And the sad part about that is.
And the judge wanted
Crowder,
to teach him
right,
some
a lesson,
so,
right. And that's another thing. The jail system, the bail system. His bail was $1,000.
I think they needed $1,000 cash. It might have been
Right.
like $3,000.
Right, it might have been like 10. Right.
Well, it wasn't 10. It was like it might have been 3.
Right.
But it was.
She couldn't come up with it.
change. But it was basically some Les Miserables.
Right.
Kind of Jean Valjean.
Right.
Count of Monte Cristo. Throw a kid in the hole.
Right, and it's a black kid at that. A black kid.
Correct.
And
Well, you would never have a white kid in jail for 3 years,
Right.
accused of stealing a backpack, and there's no backpack there.
Right.
It just wouldn't. It
Well,
just never would happen.
The majority
Never.
the majority of the inmates, I would say 90% of the inmates at Rikers are black and brown people.
That is the exact number. I mean, they say 89, but
Right.
89,
90%.
9 out of 10.
Yeah, but
Right.
Still that's 90%
That's
too many.
us. That's
That's us, right.
Right.
It's too much.
Right.
Now, I don't know what mayor started this broken window campaign. Now, people say,
I think it was Giuliani.
and I think it was Giuliani, broken window is if you break a window, it leads to bigger crimes.
Right.
I personally
they
think
had a war on the squeegee man.
Right,
They said,
right.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we haven't gotten into that because they talk about they keep bringing up the late '80s.
Right. Where Giuliani violated everybody's civil rights.
Well, I remember the '80s.
Right, so do I.
remember the '80s. And I was not a rapper. And I was not a graffiti artist
right.
in the late '80s.
Right.
I was.
Nor a thug.
No. But what I was a tenant activist, the head of my tenants association, and raising 2 kids in a town that at that time was filled with crack. But more importantly, the city. The city. Let me say this categorically because they keep telling you how much they made it better, and they're the ones who destroyed it in the first place.
Right.
The communities was overrun with crack in the communities.
Right.
And the buildings were all burnt down.
Yep.
There was whole blocks. The whole Bronx looked like a war zone.
It did, right.
What is now the East
Village.
Village looked like a war zone. It
Now
started
it was the
there.
Lower East Side, right?
It was the Lower East Side.
Right.
A lot of
Alphabet
Puerto Ricans.
City.
It was the beginning of gentrification.
Right.
And the reason why you know that it was done on purpose was because most of the buildings that were burnt like this, the roofs were burnt out.
Right.
And if you burn out the roof, you have to condemn the
That's
building.
exactly right
That
because
was
you
the-
can see this. You can see it,
That's
right.
That was the
Harlem was the same way too. Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So there's stuff about how they came in and saved you.
No, they didn't.
No.
They're the one who put you out. Because I remember back in the 70s
Right.
when Harlem, the city every house, every brownstone in Harlem,
correct.
you could go in and
Correct.
see the
That's right,
sky.
that's right.
So therefore,
Whole block.
the whole blocks,
Whole
blocks,
blocks
100,
that were only
137.
like a couple of blocks away from the firehouse.
Right. All these burnt down,
Right,
and people
right.
didn't have money to renovate them.
Right.
So what the city did was like, oh, we'll give you
Right.
$1 if you would pay. You could buy the house for $1 if you do the renovation.
That is correct. If
right.
you do the renovation,
But-
you do the renovation.
But then again, you could buy this house for $1, but they still wouldn't give you money to do the renovation.
That is correct. That is correct. You had to do everything on your
own. Right.
You had to learn on your own. You
Right.
had to do everything on
Right.
your own. And if you found a way by hook or by crook
Right.
to make it work, they were always trying to change the rules.
Change the rules on you.
So that they could benefit economically.
They set you up to fail.
That is correct.
And
That is
then
correct.
unfortunately,
that is correct.
there were no other, after that happened, that was the beginning of the end for the African Americans that lived in Harlem.
That is correct. That is
And
correct.
so the Lower East Side,
Right,
and the
right,
Bronx
right,
is still
right,
not back
right,
from the
right,
70s.
right.
And the Bronx, if you see some of the movies of when they were shot in the Bronx, like across 125th Street,
Right.
the Bronx
Go
was
to YouTube and pull up
one
of
yeah.
those videos, Grandmaster Flash
Right.
and the Furious
Shoot-
Five.
shooting at- shooting- that was in the Bronx.
Right. Look at the backdrop. Look at
it
the
looked like
buildings.
Iraq.
It looked like Iraq. That was purposely done.
Right,
That was
and it's now
purposely
just coming back. The Bronx is just
That
now
is
coming
correct.
back
That is
from
correct.
that. Now, the broken
But
window
it's
syndrome.
coming back at a cost of $3,000, $4,000 a month.
Right,
rent,
right.
Like every place
and,
else.
like in Manhattan.
Right,
Right.
like in Manhattan. That was the beginning of urban renewal,
Right.
which we refer to as gentrification. That was the beginning. That was the initial salvo
Right,
that they
that's right.
fired at
Right.
communities
all over
New York.
Gentrification is just another word for say
That's right.
minorities
Right,
get out.
right.
You know, and then what got me with Harlem, Nat, what got me was when you had a building that the banks came in and says, okay, we want you guys to be a co-op instead of a condominium.
Right.
And we'll give you money
Right.
if you become a co-op.
Right.
Now, the co-op rules in New York hasn't been revisited since the 70s. Our gated community in New York City is called Park Avenue. 99% of the buildings on Park Avenue are co-ops.
Right.
Now, with that said, co-ops have rules and regulations, but you don't actually own the apartment. You
No.
own shares in the
Correct.
apartment.
Correct.
Now, here's a problem I have with that. Say, Nat, I want to buy Nat's co-op. Nat and I come to an agreement. Now, but it's not final because the co-op board has to approve the final transaction.
The transaction, right?
Here's the problem I have with that. I'm an outstanding tenant. I got credit checks out. Credit checks out, finance checked out, character checks out, no police record. The board has to overwhelmingly approve you to be like them. Problem I have with that, the co-op board could say to you, Greg Lassiter, thank you,
Right.
but you don't fit in our community.
Right.
And there's nothing
They
you can
don't
do
even have
about
to
it.
give you a reason.
Right. There's nothing
They
you can
can
do.
just negate the sentence.
That is racism.
Right.
At its
right,
best.
Right.
And I try to tell people that racism
But
in
then
Harlem.
the city of New York has actually gone one better. Because a lot of co-op boards, one of the problems with co-op boards is historically they've been ruled by petty people.
Oh, absolutely.
Who were like
Crazy.
Crazy with power.
Right,
because
right.
They now had the power
To make a difference of somebody coming in, right.
So if they liked one person or didn't like another person,
Right.
A lot of that had to do with
straight politics.
It was straight politics.
Yeah.
And certain people on the board who were more out front had an enormous amount of power.
Right,
One treasurer can be
Right. Did they hold a lot of right.
Judas was the treasurer.
Right.
There are some co-ops. Especially HDFCs
Right.
and De Blasio. De Blasio has a lot to answer for. De Blasio has a lot to answer for in terms of his position on NYCHA. De Blasio has a lot to answer for in terms of evicting people out of nursing home and turning it into condos, luxury condos. De Blasio has a lot to answer for in trying to renege on deals that were 35 and 40 years old in terms of HDFCs.
Right.
Those HDFCs who have actually been successful, trying to use them, try to negate all the power that they had in
Right, absolutely.
in making a difference
Right.
In the lives of their children and grandchildren, trying to take that power away from them
Right, that's
30
right.
years later.
Yep.
And instituting basically, they want to institute basically czars to oversee everything they
Absolutely.
do.
That's
Because
nothing
there's a lot
more
of
than
co-ops that are very
right.
tenant friendly
Right.
in terms of their cooperative who
but-
have made tremendous
I'm-
strides in their community.
You
trying to
Lower
steal that.
East Side. You live in Lower East Side.
Yep.
And
Yep.
not the East Village. I'm
The
sorry.
East Village.
The East
East
Village
Village.
has come a long way.
That's right.
And it's more
That's
of
right.
artists and that
is
kind of.
correct. That
Now
is
I
correct.
tried to get when I first moved to New York. I tried to get
Right.
into a co-op
Right.
on Park Avenue.
Right.
My interview lasted 90 seconds.
Right.
They didn't give me. I know why.
Yeah.
I know why.
Yeah.
But I'm not a
No
believer.
matter how much money you have, unless you're visible, unless you have a face that is
Everybody
visible,
sees, right.
Right. And I've said this many times that the black man is not enhanced by his economic status
Right.
as much as he is by his
presence.
celebrity.
Right. That's his presence.
So
It's
if you are some sort of a celebrity that everybody knows your face,
Right.
they are less likely to treat you like the N-word
Right.
than
Than
if
me and
you
you.
have a bank account
Right.
And dress in suits
Right,
and,
right.
and they don't know who you are.
That's correct. Because you know what? Think about this in New York City. Park Avenue. There are no buses. MTA does not run up and down Park Avenue.
right.
No commercial traffic runs up and down Park Avenue. No trucks run up and down Park Avenue.
Right.
FedEx, UPS have to park on the side streets
Right.
to do deliveries. Now, it doesn't get much more gated than that. And there's very few minorities that live on Park Avenue, especially from the 20s up until 96, because that's when actually Park Avenue actually stops. When you go beyond 96, it's pretty much, if you look up Park Avenue, it's pretty much all projects.
If Oprah was just Oprah the entrepreneur, and not Oprah the celebrity, they would treat Oprah like she was Henrietta Lacks.
Right, you're absolutely right. Oprah, if she just came in and did nothing, she would not. She would have just as hard as a time as we would.
That is correct.
Now, I'm not a proponent of co-ops, because to me, co-ops is illegal discrimination. See, you have more rules in co-ops than you do in condominiums.
right.
So you could pretty much do anything in condominiums.
No, depending on the board, co-ops is completely the discretion of the board.
Right.
The board is supposed to serve the shareholders, not
Not
vice
themselves.
versa.
Right. That's exactly right.
But you have a lot of there's a lot of people who just want to be.
They want that power.
Actually make
No.
moves and
Now help people.
Right.
Or
even do things that benefits them.
Right.
As long as they feel like they HNIC.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. Now, you know what? New York, I've lived all over the world. I've been all over the world. Nat, you're naturally from New York.
Right.
So Nat have seen, and you've actually seen, I've seen New York from a transformation from coming here when I was growing up to living here in the 90s.
Yeah.
You lived here. You've been here. The eye of the storm.
The
now,
whole time.
Giuliani as mayor, they said he cleaned up the city. He did. But he violated so many people's rights to clean up the city. Now, do I think that's good or bad? I personally think it's bad.
Well, the Lower East Side is the place where the squatters movement started.
That's exactly right.
In order to evict squatters on a Friday night in the dead of night, they actually sent tanks down.
That's you're right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah. They mentioned Tompkins Square Park, how you weren't safe in Tompkins Square Park. You were
Or
safe
Washington Square Park.
I don't know about Washington Square Park, because that's
on the way on the west. Yeah, in the west.
You know,
right.
right
4th
in
Street.
front of NYU.
Yeah, right.
But Tompkins Square Park is between Avenue B and Avenue A.
Right.
And in the 80s, there was this big squatters movement As a matter of fact, the squatters movement actually held up gentrification.
Right, for a while.
For
The Lower
decade.
East Side was the last to catch on, right. They were the last to get.
We were the test case. The
Right.
Lower East Side was the test case, but they had to get rid of. They had to get through the Lower East Side to do what they wanted to do in
Right.
Harlem.
Right.
Harlem is giant.
Right,
7th
right.
Avenue
7th
is
Avenue all the way,
giant.
yeah, huge, right.
Harlem is the Lower East Side is a little landfill.
Right, compared to Harlem, right.
That's why pictures of the Bronx look just like pictures of the Lower East Side.
That's right,
If
yeah.
you didn't tell
What, you didn't say what
where
it was, right.
just showed the empty lots and the burnt out buildings and whatnot, you wouldn't know whether you were looking at the Bronx or the Lower East
Right,
Side.
right.
The Lower East Side was the test case. As a matter of fact, the thing that sparked, and I got footage of C. Virginia Fields
Right,
and all of
right,
those
right, right.
people in the
Protesting.
archives,
Right.
talking about Charis Elbow Hill, the
Right,
that
school,
they were taking
right.
over. But the Lower East Side was the test case. City Council member Antonio Pagan
Right.
was the first guy who actually got in bed with the agents of gentrification
Right.
and aided and abetted.
Right.
I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, that's
he
true,
was
though.
in the forefront.
It was out in front,
in the-
right.
Right. He was on the other. He was on the side of
Making
big-
it happen.
Right.
Big corporations.
Right. Big corporations and big. real
Trying to play
estate.
both sides.
Well, no, he was only playing one side, but his name was Pagan.
Right.
However, the largely Puerto Rican demographic of the Lower East Side knew that Pagan was Judas.
Right.
So his
Right.
name didn't actually
Mean anything to them, right.
Mean
Yeah,
anything to the Puerto Rican
right.
community. That's one thing I will say. Other ethnic groups seem to be more aware of a lot of people within their own groups that are not acting
In their best
in
interest.
their
But
best
Nat,
interest.
I'm glad we segue to that. That's what happened to Harlem.
Right.
And
it's still happening.
It's still happening. See, here's my problem with Harlem. Like you know how I feel about. You grew up in Harlem. Harlem is your town.
and raised in Harlem.
And Harlem, coming to this city when I lived in D.C., that's the first place we would always stop in Harlem because that was the thriving black people.
Right.
Even in the 70s when to walk down the street of 125th Street, which was all black, was awesome to see because that gave me hope. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
Adam Clayton Powell did a lot for Harlem. He did.
Yeah. He was the greatest congressman in the history of
Harlem. Congressman.
Any congressman.
Right.
He instituted more legislation that benefited his community, especially a poor community of color.
Right. He transformed Harlem.
That is correct.
Then came Judas himself.
Yeah.
Charlie Rangel.
Right.
But what bothers me about Charlie Rangel, I've always, even when I did my show, to the point, I've always been an adversary of Charlie Rangel.
Yeah.
Why? Because he is the one, for 40 years, he was the congressman at Harlem, and he screwed it up.
Yeah.
He screwed it up. They thought bringing Bill Clinton in was going to do everything. No, he changed the whole dynamics of 125th Street.
See, they try, especially people who are socialists. And I have a lot of friends who are socialists because a lot of times, in terms of being revolutionaries, we are on the same side of issues.
Right.
However, I am not a socialist.
Right. Neither am I. I'm more of a capitalist.
I'm whatever they throw at me.
Right. Okay.
My primary objective is leveling the playing field.
Absolutely.
And making sure that everyone has equal opportunity.
Right.
One of the biggest ways that people have of discriminating against other people is by making education an opportunity an elitist thing.
Right.
So
which
if
is
you
not
got
true.
all the machines,
Right.
it makes you by definition better.
Right.
And once the opportunity gets across the board, you have a whole new pecking order.
That's right. Right.
As long as an elite group had access to the equipment,
Right.
to the computers, as long as
Right.
I was
They
a
made
step
the
behind in getting stuff, getting musical
Equipment,
instruments,
instruments,
getting
right.
computers,
Right.
as long as I was a step behind that,
They were okay with it.
Right.
They were okay with
They were
it.
fine
And that's
with
what
it.
happened
They were
in the
fine
minorities,
with it.
the black community.
And
that's what happened
part
within the
I
black
like
community.
About, socialism.
You know, right.
It presumes that there is a large group of people who need to be dependent upon government, which there are.
Right.
But that group of people is not contingent upon things like race.
Right.
Or gender.
Right. Gender. Right.
And socialism is not the solution
Right.
for what ails the black community.
No, it's not.
There's
You're correct.
certain members who need to be cared for.
Right.
But by and large, the black community just needs the opportunity to get out there and compete
Right.
on a level playing
And see-
field. And the hell with the devil. Let's
See,
get it
but
on.
you know what, Nat, you're absolutely right. See, that's why we had things like Equal Opportunity Commission, which was headed by a black man.
Correct.
It was headed by the Supreme Court
Correct.
judge.
Correct.
He benefited from that.
Right.
That's how he rise through the ranks and became a Supreme Court judge.
Right.
But soon as he became the Supreme Court judge, he wanted to dismantle
Right.
Equal Opportunity Commission.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, stymieing or stifling opportunity.
Saying good word, both words.
Is the chosen weapon for the insecure.
Right.
I don't care who you bring in front of me because I'm not concerned with you.
Right. You don't affect me one way or the other.
You don't affect me one way or
Right,
another.
right.
I am concentrating on doing what I have to do
Right.
to the best of my ability.
Right.
And I'm all for everyone having the opportunity to do that.
Right.
Because I'm not insecure
Right, about who
my
I am.
ability.
Your ability, right. I agree with you. I'm the same way.
People who are insecure spend more time making sure that other
Every people
don't
don't get
an
it. Right.
opportunity
And that,
than they are
but you know what,
in-
Nat,
in-
which
in-
is worse? The black man that's trying to hold the other black man down or the white man trying to hold the black man down, in your opinion?
Oh my God.
That's something to think about, right? Wow.
I don't know. I don't like either one.
No, but you know what?
No.
See, you're right, because I had to think about that too. I'm like,
no.
which is worse? I said,
By
you know,
definition, I've always hated Judas more than I
right,
hated my
right, my adversary.
Right,
because you know, if your adversary,
Right.
my adversary, I know you're my
Correct,
adversary.
correct,
I'd rather know.
correct,
I'd rather
correct.
know that you're the
Correct.
king cobra, that I could be bitten by
That
you,
is correct,
opposed to
correct.
you acting like you're a python.
The knife in my back
Right.
has always been very,
And that's
very
unfortunate.
hard for me to get over.
And that's unfortunate because I was in D.C., a real quick story. I was in D.C., and I had this guy wanted me to raise money so he could be the first African American to climb Mount Everest. So naturally, with the connections I had, first place I went to was Black Entertainment Television.
Right, right,
So to climb Mount Everest, just the fees alone
Right.
is over $200,000.
Right.
So when I went to Bob Johnson, yes, Bob Johnson, at Black Entertainment Television and presented it, he was all hyped for it. But you know what? I'll give you $20,000 and I want exclusive.
yeah.
What kind of, you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
And that's when I said $20,000 when you own the first black man to own a cable network and you can be one of the biggest sponsors of the first African American to climb Mount Everest.
But see, the need to be accepted on some degree by the greater society,
Right.
aka the white
Right,
folks,
right.
a lot of times takes precedence over the
Self-preservation.
desire to do great things.
Right.
So we have a lot of people who have acquired a lot, but they have no power. They're powerless buffoons.
Right, which means nothing.
Well, that is correct.
Right.
That is correct. Case in point, the guy who owns Uber.
Right.
They just had an article about him in
He's
in the Times.
Israeli or something. He's not white, is he?
Well, he's
white.
his face is
White. Okay.
You know?
All right.
His face is white as hell.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know?
Okay. Go ahead. Go
You know,
ahead.
he got
Because he had
white folks' hair, white folks' face. I
he had a
don't
different kind of
know.
last
Y'all tell
name.
me
But
what
go
he
ahead. Go ahead.
is.
Go
I
ahead.
don't know what he is.
Go
Mama know what he
Okay.
But his desire to establish, because he's already a billionaire.
Right, right.
So it's not about money.
No, right.
But he's willing to risk everything because he is a capitalist warrior.
Right,
So
right.
he bends the rules in terms of the of
Any way
what
he
can
wants.
do. Right. He tried to use Apple's app.
Yeah. To
benefit himself.
Right,
But Apple caught on and say, well, I'll drop everything you got from my app, and you won't have a pot to piss in.
Right, because I got more money than you.
Right, then he backed up
Right,
off of it.
right.
But for him to go through these kinds of manipulations,
Right. To circumvent the system.
To circumvent the system, to gain status,
Right.
and for his corporation, shows you the level of his commitment in terms of winning.
right.
Not in terms of being rich. He's already
Very rich. So it's not
He's
about,
a
see,
billionaire.
at that state of the game, it's not about money.
Correct.
It's about how much more I can control.
Correct.
And, he got the things.
It's never about money.
No.
Money is the reward.
Right,
you
of doing
get.
it, right, for doing it, right,
For
right.
being
Right.
a capitalist warrior.
Right.
And in order to be a capitalist warrior, you take risk and you lay waste to countries,
Right.
if necessary.
That's true. That's right. That's a great point.
Right. So you have to know what you're dealing with and the level of commitment. And unless you are gonna match that level of commitment.
But what do you say, Nat, to African Americans strictly that have the money, i.e. Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah.
Yes, there's probably things she has done for the black community that we don't hear about.
Yeah.
But moreover, we hear about her doing big things with building schools in other countries for little African children.
Well, there's a couple of things. Oprah is very, and I can't be mad at Oprah for doing what she does. She does great things.
Right.
And I certainly can't be mad at her for opening schools in Africa.
Right.
And schools for young women in Africa.
Right. That's right.
But like I said before, for the black man, this is a zero-sum game.
Totally a zero-sum game.
Get your head out of your butt. You better recognize that nobody is your friend.
Take a switch. Your mic switch is muted, I think, because I don't think they can hear you. But you know what? I think that as you say, Nat, that it is muted. The battery's dead.
The pot might not be on.
Okay.
Tell her to go and look at the pot.
You heard that, right?
Till the damn thing was almost over.
We're almost over.
Yeah.
But you know what? But the thing of it is, I always thought this, Nat. I do a lot of things for the community, and I like it because I want to help the community.
Yeah, I don't know what number it is, maybe 6 or something, but
okay.
it's the slider should be up.
Yeah, because we did check that before. But my problem is that we have so many things that are not happening in the U.S. in the black community that black people, I hold black people accountable that have it, that it is like for you and I. We don't get paid to come back to the community.
No,
we do it because we want to do it.
No.
It's what we were raised to do. It was what we were raised to do. Bing. There's the people. Since people are not calling in,
they heard that.
People are calling in to say something.
Yeah.
But I say, as a well-to-do black person, celebrity.
Well, different people are motivated to do different things in different ways. There is you can't explain why a Harriet Tubman saw fit to continually come back to
because she was already free.
She was already gone.
Right.
But that was Harriet Tubman.
It's like us. Niggas just like
yeah,
us. It's
yeah,
just like us.
yeah,
I'm not comparing us to Harriet Tubman,
I
but
know
it's just
exactly
like
what you mean.
we don't have
But
to sit here and do this.
Right. You're driven, but it just shows your character.
Right.
As they said, adversity does not create character; it reveals it.
Right. Absolutely. That's a great saying.
There was no reason for Martin Luther King to
continue.
go through the crap that he went through. He was a damn PhD.
Right.
His wife was hot.
Yep.
Chicks liked him.
He had money.
He had money.
He had status. They had status. He had everything.
He didn't
need to take a beating. Didn't have to march. Didn't have to do anything.
He wasn't getting on your damn bus in the first place.
Right. I don't think he ever rode the bus, did he? Right. But he made a point.
That is correct.
He made a point.
That is correct.
You know?
That is correct. But he was chosen. He was chosen because he had the character and the stamina
and the skills
and the level of commitment
and communication.
required to do something that extraordinary.
Right.
And believe me, it was extraordinary. And there's a lot of people who consider themselves, who pride themselves in being in leaders, but they can't get 3 people to follow them. I don't care what.
Right. But let me ask you, Nat, since you segue to that, in light of, we're not all over the place, we're segmenting.
Right.
In light of, speaking of black people, in light of the inauguration of Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Now, let me ask you, where's Jesse Jackson? Where's Al Sharpton on their boisterous? They've been boisterous about everybody, every president. Jesse Jackson got caught.
I'm not gonna lump Al Sharpton in with Jesse. A lot of people take issue with some of Al Sharpton's decisions in years past. His life, his lifestyle. That's fine. He's a big boy. He can speak for himself.
Right.
They also take issue in what they perceive as him being somewhat self-serving in terms of seeking fame and fortune.
What do you think in that sense? In your opinion?
I think Al Sharpton, there's a lot of things that Al Sharpton does that I don't personally agree with.
Okay. You're such a communicator. You know I'm trying to bait you.
However, I think that in a lot of ways he has been a soldier.
He in the beginning, Tawana Brawley. What was it? Tawana Brawley. Tawana Brawley.
I think he was looking for a spot.
Right.
And Tawana Brawley afforded him that opportunity. And I'm not quite sure if he acquitted himself in the way I would like in terms of the Tawana Brawley case.
Now hold on a second. That was beautiful.
Thank
you know what? You commit, but don't commit. Nat Wood for mayor. Nat Wood for mayor.
Well, no. I mean, I don't want to just dump on Al. And I remember the time. I remember the place. I remember who was involved. I remember who.
Oh, you've been on the forefront with him, Nat. You've been there with him.
Well,
so you've seen it. You've seen it firsthand.
Alton took the biggest hit for Tawana.
Right.
And Tawana took a
big hit
terrible hit.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of people who are going to rot in hell.
Right.
Who deserve to rot in hell
Right.
because of what they did to that little girl.
Right.
And that was Alton's baby, but Al Sharpton was trying to find his place in the world.
Right.
And I don't think his level of commitment at that time matched Alton Maddox's.
Right.
And Alton took the biggest hit.
Right.
In terms of that, Alton paid the cost to be
Right.
Certainly in terms of his position with, and he did both things at the same time. He was able to gain fame and popularity
And money.
still be on the forefront.
Right.
I think he came into his own with the Diallo case.
Right, yeah, right.
Became a
Again,
public figure.
Again, you were there. You were there, right. You and Veronica Kidd, right.
Correct. So, I mean, certainly I cannot negate what he has done. And I cannot argue that there was a certain amount of efficacy in the positions he took.
Right.
He changed to Amadou Diallo certainly changed the
dynamics.
playing field, the
Right,
dynamics
right.
In terms of police violence, police
brutality,
deadly force,
right,
against people of color.
Right.
It's a battle that people are still waging today, that
Right.
they've waged all through Sean Bell and
Right.
waged through
Garner.
Ramali Graham and
And
Eric
Garner, right.
You know,
Right.
so it did change the dynamic. He was in the forefront. He is.
Let me ask you this then.
Like legit.
To date,
Yeah.
on a scale, on a grading scale, A through F, where would you give Al Sharpton? From what he's done to this point, what grade on an average would you give Trump?
Well, I think Al Sharpton is a work in progress, like we all are. So I don't think you should grade somebody until it's all over.
It's never going to be all. We get grades halfway through the system.
Because he could be tested tomorrow. He could be
Right.
He could turn Judas on everybody tomorrow
right.
and sign with Fox. I mean, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I do know that earlier in his career,
Right.
that he
was
has grown.
Right. Oh,
He has
absolutely.
grown.
I've seen him grow.
So-
He's
so-
not.
so-
Let me make this.
So I would give him. What do you give that grade for effort?
A for effort? No. E for effort?
B minus.
A B
for
minus?
effort,
Okay.
you know.
Well, see,
which is coming
See,
from Nat Wood, not the fact.
you know what? That's damn good from coming from Nat Wood because I've been on the. I wasn't privy to be on the inside like you.
Right.
I've been here in New York for the last 20 years, and I've never been a proponent of Al
And I'm
Sharpton.
glad I'm not taking phone calls.
Hey, what did I tell you in the beginning? Find us on social media, Nat Wood and Greg Lassiter. We can go from there. I've never been a proponent of Al Sharpton nor Charlie Rangel because, as I see it, you know, I know you were a soldier on the front. Amadou Diallo.
Charlie Rangel is not. Charlie Rangel is a different animal than Al Sharpton. Charlie Rangel was a congressman since God made water.
Right.
And he has a prissy little position where all he has to do is put on his tie.
Right.
go to the Halls of Congress,
Right. And
do
just
something
shake hands.
positive.
Shake hands.
And do something positive. So I don't think there's any excuse for Charlie Rangel not to be a super soldier.
Right.
The fact that he
could have made a difference.
He could have made a huge difference.
Right.
And it's not like he that anybody expected him to die like El Cid.
Right, right.
Dead behind on a horse.
Right.
Send him, into the heart of the enemy.
Right.
All he had to do was argue with old men in Congress.
And win. And he could win. Appropriation committee.
But Congress was his addiction. Congress, I mean, when they caught his butt in the Dominican Republic, he sit there, he started tears falling. Oh, I'm sorry. It was so embarrassing.
Right.
That he lacked. We fixing my table. Here. That he just lacked.
Integrity.
Balls.
You're right, Nat. He lacked a lot of balls.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about Rangel. I've never been a fan of Rangel, and
You know Adam.
he's nothing. But guys, I know I'm gonna get crap for this. I'm a true black man. I've been in New York for 20-something years. I see it for what it is. Nat has been on the forefront. I unfortunately have not been on the forefront like Nat would. But for what I've seen and what I've experienced, Charlie Rangel, Al Sharpton, nor Jesse Jackson has never been somebody that I would push.
Jesse, in my opinion, and Charlie Rangel, in my opinion,
Right.
has never had to put up.
Right.
So it's
That's
hard for
exactly
me,
right. You're absolutely right.
You know, to
You're
call you
absolutely-
a player if you never had to put up.
But you know what? It was all given. You know what?
Right.
It was given to him.
It was all free money.
It was all free money, yeah.
The only thing you had to do was you
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, well, you were playing with house money.
So you had
But
nothing to
You
lose.
wouldn't even right. You had nothing to lose.
You didn't
had
go.
nothing to
You've
lose.
never. You played with house money
Right.
and had a chance to go
Right,
all
right,
in
right.
and didn't.
There has never been a situation where either a Jesse or a Charlie Rangel would have reason to stand on a podium
Right.
and say the words, "I may not get there with you, but
Right.
we'll get there."
Right. That's right. That's
Because
you know
his
what?
life- their life was never
You know what?
gonna be
That
manifested.
was the most poetic thing
Yeah.
I've heard you say, and you're absolutely right. If you don't have anything in the game,
Right.
you have nothing to lose.
Correct.
So it's all zero. It's like
Correct.
all this money for nothing.
Correct.
But at the same part, we only got a few more minutes. It's a sellout, because before I sell out, I gets the hell out. Because you look at them, they sell out. They're selling out. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this, guys. We got about a few seconds.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for watching us. You know, I love doing this, and I thank you. Guys, remember this. I'm going to let Nat have to say the last words. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're still among the stars.
We are going to continue to try to bring you excellent programming. We're going to bring you unique program. We're going to show you stuff from the archives. We're going to make sure that we stay in the field and bring current events to you. And we're going to try in this format we have to do something considerable.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everybody who's involved in 30 Frames a Second. It is a privilege to bring this show to you.
Brother,
My
man,
brother,
I
thank
love you,
so
dog.
much.
Thank you,
We'll
man.
See you next week. We out of here. Yeah, all right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Look at everybody want to comment now. Let me see.
I know they do.